The competition began in mid-September. From the day he received the assignment, Nathaniel almost turned into a different person. He still smiled, still cracked jokes, but every time he sat down at the computer, his eyes focused so intensely I didn't have the heart to disturb him. One night, it was past 1 in the morning when I woke up for some water and saw Nathaniel's desk lamp still on. "You're not asleep yet?" Nathaniel rubbed his eyes. "Just a little more. You've said that 3 times since this evening." "I know. I just want to fix one more detail." I walked up behind him. On the screen were dozens of different designs. Each one differed from the others by only the smallest details. "I think this one already looks good." Nathaniel shook his head. "Not yet. I can do better." I placed a hand on his shoulder. "Nathaniel. You always want everything to be perfect. Sometimes, good enough is perfect too." He turned to look at me, then smiled. "Lucky I have you. If not, I'd probably just sleep in the design lab." To give Nathaniel more time, I took on most of the housework. Doing laundry, grocery shopping, cooking. I even brought dinner to his design room. Once, I had just set the food container on the table when Nathaniel's group of friends all turned to look at me. One friend nudged Nathaniel's shoulder. "Hey, you're really the winner here." Nathaniel looked up. "What? A boyfriend who delivers meals?"
I'm jealous.
Nathaniel laughed and wrapped an arm around my waist.
Sorry.
"Already taken." The whole room erupted in jeers. I blushed. "Eat up, before it gets cold." Nathaniel looked up at me. "Thank you. Not thanks for the food, but thanks for always being there." I understood that from his eyes. 2 weeks later, the competition results were announced. I was sitting in the student newspaper office when my phone kept buzzing. It was Nathaniel calling. The moment I answered, I heard him laughing. "Gavin, I won." I jumped to my feet. "Really? Really? First place?" I nearly shouted across the office. The senior staff looked at me and burst out laughing. "We're celebrating tonight," I said. "Yeah, but..." Nathaniel's voice slowed down. "The internship offer came through. Next June. New York." The joy inside me suddenly mixed with a small worry, but I still smiled. "I'm proud of you. I'm proud of myself too," Nathaniel replied. "Because I have you." Time passed by frighteningly fast. Sophomore year, then junior year. Life swept us into a string of projects and internships. No matter how busy, we kept one rule. At least one dinner together every week.
No phones.
No laptops. Just the two of us. One evening, Nathaniel suddenly asked, "Gavin, if later on we live together, who do you think will cook?" "Me." "Laundry?" "Probably still me." "Dishes?" "You." Nathaniel burst out laughing. "So fair. What else do you want?" Nathaniel propped his chin on his hand, looking at me. "I just want to see you every morning." I smiled. "Too greedy." "Yeah."
I'm greedy.
At the start of junior year, we moved out of the dorms and rented a small apartment near campus. It was the first time Nathaniel and I truly lived together. The apartment had only one bedroom. On the first day we moved in, Nathaniel stood in the middle of the room hugging a pillow. "We have a problem." "What is it?" "There's only one bed." "I know. What are you going to do?" I looked at him. "You want to sleep on the couch?" Nathaniel shook his head immediately.
No.
"Bad for my back." "So?" Nathaniel grinned. "I think splitting the bed makes sense." I laughed. "Boyfriend? We've been together for 3 years. And you're still pretending to be shy." Nathaniel winked. "A little shyness for romance." Living together turned out nothing like the movies. Nathaniel still left towels lying around. I still got annoyed when I saw an unwashed coffee mug. One day we argued just over the air conditioner. "I'm hot." "I'm cold." 73 degrees. 77. 73. 77. In the end, Nathaniel put on an extra jacket, while I clutched my stomach laughing. "What are you laughing at?" I just won.
No.
You only won the thermostat. I won everything. Nathaniel pretended to sigh. Fine. Letting my boyfriend win. Our small conflicts never lasted more than a day. Once I got upset with Nathaniel because he forgot our dinner date. I didn't speak to him all evening. Close to midnight, the doorbell rang. I opened the door. Nathaniel stood there holding a still warm apple pie. I know. I was wrong.
I'm sorry.
I have no excuse. I looked at him. Why a pie? Nathaniel smiled. Because the first time we met, you once said, if you're sad, just have something sweet. Things get better. I froze. I had said that almost 3 years ago. Even I had forgotten. But Nathaniel still remembered. All the anger inside me melted away. I stepped forward and hugged him. Next time, use a calendar. Don't forget again. Nathaniel nodded repeatedly. Yes, boss. Toward the end of junior year, one night before bed, Nathaniel suddenly took a small box out of the drawer. I looked at him. Don't misunderstand. What? It's not a ring. I'm not proposing yet. I laughed. So what is it? Nathaniel opened the box. Inside were 2 identical keys. The apartment. Ours. From today on, each of us keeps one. I want, no matter where we end up working later, for you to always know, there's a place to come home to. I held the key. It was very small, but it felt heavier than any gift I had ever received. I had no idea, just a few months later, that key would become the thing that helped us get through the hardest stretch of time since we'd fallen in love. Senior year arrived faster than either of us expected. There were days I stood in the middle of Cedar Hills campus, watching the maple leaves change color, and suddenly remembered the first day I moved here. Back then, I dragged a suitcase behind me, carrying a broken heart. But now, I had Nathaniel. I had friends. I had a place to call home. It was strange how just 4 years could change a person so much. At the opening ceremony of senior year, Nathaniel nudged my shoulder. Hey, do you remember the first time we met? How could I forget? I'd barely opened the door and you said, guess we're stuck with each other. Nathaniel laughed loudly. Right? And you looked at me like, this guy talks too much. I really did think that. I know. Lucky you didn't switch rooms. I turned to look at him. Really lucky. Nathaniel gently took my hand. If you had, my life would have been pretty sad. Senior year was also when big companies started coming to campus to recruit. I applied to a newsroom in Portland. Nathaniel kept preparing for his internship in New York after graduation. Even though we'd known about that plan 2 years in advance, now that the day to part was actually approaching, neither of us could stay as calm as before. One evening, I was editing an article when Nathaniel sat down beside me. Are you scared? Scared of what? Long distance. I was honest. Yes. Nathaniel nodded too. Me too. I'm scared you'll find someone better. I burst out laughing. What are you talking about? Nathaniel looked down at his hands. New York's crowded. You're smart. And handsome. Maybe. I reached over and lifted his chin. Nathaniel. I moved to Cedar Hills to forget someone. But instead I found a whole future here. That future is standing right in front of me. Nathaniel's eyes turned red. You always know how to say things that make me want to cry. Then don't cry. I'm not promising. Spring of senior year came along with graduation. On the day we wore our graduation gowns, the whole campus was filled with laughter and camera shutters. My parents flew in from Seattle. Nathaniel's parents came from Colorado too. It was the first time our 2 families met. The moment Nathaniel's mother saw me, she pulled me into a hug. Finally, I get to meet Gavin. Nate's been talking about you for so long. Nathaniel stood beside her, clearing his throat. Mom.
I'm embarrassed.
Stop it. She laughed. He brings up your name every single day. How could I forget? Meanwhile, my mother shook hands with Nathaniel's father. The 2 men had barely started talking before discovering they both loved fishing. 10 minutes later, they were already planning to go fishing together at the lake someday. Nathaniel leaned close to my ear. Seems like our parents get along better than we do. I laughed. Maybe so. After the diploma ceremony, everyone scattered to take photos. Nathaniel pulled me toward the biggest maple tree on campus. Stand here. Why? The first day. You stood right here. I looked around. He was right. This was the exact spot where we'd taken our very first photo as roommates. Nathaniel took out his phone. This time, let's take it again. In the same spot. I stood next to him. The camera clicked once. Nathaniel looked at the photo and smiled. Look. I leaned in. The new photo looked almost identical to the old one. Except for one thing. In this photo, Nathaniel was holding my hand. Very naturally. Very peacefully. The joy of graduation only lasted a few weeks. Then the day Nathaniel had to leave for New York arrived. Portland Airport was packed. Nathaniel pulled his familiar black suitcase. I helped him straighten his scarf. Don't overwork yourself. I know. Remember to eat on time. I know. Call me. I'll call every day. Good. Nathaniel laughed. Why do you sound just like my mom? I learned from her. It works. The airport speakers announced his flight. Nathaniel took a deep breath. It's time. I nodded. But my feet didn't want to move. Nathaniel hugged me tightly. This time, I'm not saying goodbye. Why? Because I'm coming back. I held him tighter. Okay. I'll be waiting. Nathaniel stepped back a few paces, then suddenly ran back. Seems like I forgot something. What? He leaned down and kissed me softly on the lips. Now it's enough. I laughed. Go on, or you'll miss your flight. Nathaniel walked away, turning back to wave, until he disappeared behind the security checkpoint. I stood there, frozen in place. For the first time since we'd fallen in love. We were no longer in the same city. The first 3 weeks, things went better than I expected. We video called every night. Nathaniel showed off his office. I showed off the newsroom. Some nights we even ate dinner together through the phone screen, as if we were still sitting across from each other. But then, work started piling up. Some nights Nathaniel had meetings until 10 at night. I had to cover the newsroom because of breaking news. The calls that used to happen every day dropped to 3 days a week, then 2 days. Once, I fell asleep waiting for Nathaniel's call. When I woke up the next morning, there was a message sent at almost 2 in the morning. Sorry. Too busy today. Miss you. I stared at the screen for a long time, then replied, It's okay. I miss you too. I believed we would get through it. Because love had never been the problem. The problem was the distance, and the fact that 2 adults' lives sometimes no longer moved at the same rhythm. That would become the biggest challenge we had ever faced. But it was also the very challenge that taught us, loving someone isn't just about being together. It's also about learning to get through, together, the days you can't be by each other's side. 3 months after Nathaniel moved to New York, I started to learn something. Long-distance love isn't like in the movies. Not every day brings hours-long phone calls. There isn't always enough time to say everything you want to say. Some days, love fits into just a few lines of text. Eaten yet? Yeah. How was today? Tired, but okay. Miss you. Me too. Short, but sincere. The newsroom where I worked started giving me more feature assignments. Some days I had to drive over 2 hours to interview a subject. Nathaniel wasn't doing any better. He often stayed at the office until late at night. One evening, I was editing an article when my phone buzzed. It was a video call from Nathaniel. I smiled and picked up. The screen showed his familiar face. Except now, he was thinner, and there were noticeable dark circles under his eyes. You're not sleeping? Nathaniel smiled. Just finished work. You? Editing an article. The 2 of us looked at each other for a few seconds. Neither said anything. Nathaniel laughed first. Funny, isn't it? What? In college. We lived in the same room. Now, to even see each other, we have to do it through a phone. I nodded quietly. I miss you. I know. Nathaniel's voice softened too. I miss you more. That December, the company gave Nathaniel 4 days off for Christmas. The moment he found out, he immediately booked a flight back to Portland. I went to pick him up at the airport. This time, it was Nathaniel who ran toward me. No need for words.
No hesitación.
He hugged me tightly in the middle of the crowd. I'm back. Welcome home. Nathaniel paused. You just said. Yeah. I said. Home. Nathaniel laughed, his eyes turning red. I love how you said that. Because wherever you are, that's truly home. The 4 days off passed by infuriatingly fast. We did all the things we used to do back in college. Ate at our old favorite cafe. Walked around the lake. Bought ice cream and ate it in the car because it was too cold outside. We even stopped by Margaret's bookstore. When Margaret saw Nathaniel, she smiled. So you finally showed up. Nathaniel was a bit surprised. You know me? Of course. Gavin's changed his phone wallpaper 3 times. But the main subject has never changed. Nathaniel turned to look at me. You changed your wallpaper 3 times? Because I liked the new photos. Nathaniel laughed softly. The person is still me, though. Yeah. From the start until now. On the last night before Nathaniel went back to New York, we sat on the apartment balcony. It was very cold. Nathaniel wrapped us together in one blanket. Gavin. What if, after the internship, the company asks me to stay? What would you do? I stayed silent. It was a question I had asked myself many times. I'll ask you first. Nathaniel continued. I don't want to decide alone. I looked at him. Nathaniel, I love you. But I also love your dream. If New York is really where you want to be, then don't give it up for me. Nathaniel held my hand tightly. And if my dream is to have you with me? I smiled. Then we'll find a way. This time, neither of us has to give anything up. 3 months later, my phone rang around noon. Nathaniel was calling. The moment I answered, he shouted, Gavin, what happened? I got the official offer. I jumped to my feet. Really? Really? Great salary. Amazing team. And Nathaniel's voice slowed down. The company has a branch in Portland. I blinked. What? If I want? After 6 months, I can request a transfer there. I could hardly believe my ears. Really? Nathaniel smiled brightly. I asked the moment I got the offer. I knew you wouldn't want to live far from your family, or far from me. I burst out laughing. Nathaniel, you really are silly.
No.
Someone who always thinks ahead for both of us. Exactly 1 year after graduation, Nathaniel came back to Portland. I stood in front of our old apartment, holding the key he had once given me. Footsteps echoed in the hallway. I turned around. Nathaniel was pulling his familiar suitcase. The same smile, the same eyes, just more grown up. He raised his hand. Boyfriend. I laughed. You're so late.
Sorry.
Traffic. Nathaniel walked up to stand in front of me. He took a dark blue velvet box out of his jacket pocket. I looked at him. Hey, you once said, last time it wasn't a ring. Nathaniel nodded. Right? Last time. This time it is. He took a deep breath, then knelt right there in the middle of the apartment hallway. Gavin, 4 years ago, you moved to Cedar Hills to forget someone. And me. I found the person I want to spend my whole life remembering. Nathaniel opened the box. Inside were 2 simple silver rings. Not elaborate, but beautiful. His eyes turned red. Gavin, will you agree to turn wherever we are together into each other's home forever? I didn't even notice the tears falling. I laughed through them. You idiot. Nathaniel fumbled nervously. Is that a yes or a no? I pulled him up to stand, then held him tight. It's a yes. A very big yes. Nathaniel laughed so hard he couldn't speak. He gently slid the ring onto my ring finger. I did the same for him. The 2 rings glimmered under the hallway lights. Not expensive, but holding our whole youth inside them. From 2 strangers in a small dorm room, to 2 men building a future together. I once thought I'd move to Cedar Hills just to run away from the past. But now I finally understood. Sometimes partings aren't meant to end a story. They're meant to open up a much more beautiful one. If I hadn't been brave enough to leave Seattle back then, I would never have met Nathaniel. Never have known what it feels like to be loved with patience. To be cared for through small things. To be looked at with the gentlest eyes. And I would never have understood that the most beautiful love isn't the love that makes you forget your pain. It's the love that helps you become the happiest version of yourself.